Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Elliott64, and welcome to the RoboCast. I'm joined alongside,
Steve the American Killjoy.
and we are here to discuss the fifth and final heat of Bugglebots Season 2. We are joined by a guest from the heat this week. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, I'm Rory. I'm the builder of Mini Spinny MK II.
Rory, welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us.
It's fantastic to be here.
I'm glad you said that. Obviously, you were about last series with. Well, I prefer the other name, to be honest.
I do too. I was going to bring it up, but I wanted you.
With Tiny PP, otherwise known as Mini Spinny.
Yes.
Why the big change? Obviously, the first one, it's very clear to see the inspiration. Why the big change?
So the story behind the first Mini Spinny was basically I built my first ever Beetleweight, which was called Disharmonic Motion, and it was the worst thing ever because I never I just designed it and thought, oh yeah, this will be cool, this will be good, and the weight was all over the place, and the tires were rubber bands, and it didn't work properly. Like, I don't think it ever actually hit anything like any other robot. It hit the floor, and yeah, it was terrible. But I was left with this, what I thought at the time was a pretty massive 170mm disc. I thought, I have this thing. I've paid money for it. I ought to do something with it. And I thought, oh yeah, it'll probably look quite good if I try to make a tiny PP3D, and stick it on the bottom of a chassis, and like I think I just got my CNC router at that point, so I was like, yeah, I'll make a billet chassis and all that. Anyway, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll make that. And then Bugglebots came along, and I wasn't planning on building it for Bugglebots, but I had it ready, and so I entered with that, and it was good. But what I found out was many heavyweight designs, as many people will know, do not translate well into the smaller weight classes, because when you're building like a Beetle or something, compared to heavyweight, the components are so big. The battery is like a quarter of the size of the chassis sometimes.
The batteries in a heavyweight are not relatively as big.
I was saying that about Daedalus last episode. We're like, yeah, you can make a two-wheel drive spinny bit robot with the front, but all the components are so much smaller, and you have to account for weight in a completely different way. It's not like you can say, oh, I got 5 pounds to spare. Like, no, I got like 50 grams to spare.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, 100%. And when you think about it, like, I mean, it's not like a super important thing, but some of the parts, like your receiver, is the same exact thing.
It is,
like in an ant weight, that's 10 grams, which is a significant portion, just under 10% of your weight. And then in a heavyweight, it's basically nothing. So that there's parts, and like the clearance you have to give, because obviously a lot of lower weight classes use brushless motors, heavies to some extent, but not as much. So if you want to put a brushless motor in a smaller robot, if you scaled up the clearance that you have to give around the can of the motor, it's cavernous when you get to heavyweight, but 3 or 4 mils in a Beetleweight is quite significant. Anyway, long story short, didn't really translate well to Beetleweight. When I drove it, the drive was like, I don't know if you probably can see in Bugglebots 1, when I'm driving it around, it's like crabbing from side to side. It's not really because there's anything wrong with it. It's just,
it just wasn't happy. It wasn't happy.
Yeah, the center of mass of that spinner is directly between the two wheels. So when you turn, it's turning right around the center of mass. There's nothing to slow it down, or it just spins. So it's really, really hard to control.
Robot going around, why was I born?
I'm trying to drive out people and like veering off, and every time I try to do a tiny little turn, it spins 360 degrees. Yeah.
Well, it was a very pretty robot.
It was a very pretty robot. Like, I mean, it was great to look at. That's for sure. normally what we do at this point, we jump into the new robot, but seeing as though you're on the first fight, I think, fairly sure.
Yes.
So we'll just jump straight into the first fight, and Mini Spinny Mark II and Catalyst. So obviously the new robot, much more refined, as you, well, I suppose is how you'd probably put it.
I hope so, anyway.
well, how did you feel about Catalyst in round one? Catalyst obviously has been around for a while. Slowly but surely, James has been making it better and better every event.
Yeah.
Were there nerves going into this?
Definitely, yeah. I was, I was really nervous because, like, I mean, I think James has been on the Beetle scene for a lot longer than me, at least a year. Because I think I could be wrong here, but I think his first robot was a Beetle, and he's been doing it for a while, and he's known for, you know, getting people stuck in awkward places and being a really tough bot. So yeah, I was nervous. I was really nervous.
You know, the fight itself in the end went fairly smoothly. You know, were you surprised how effective Mini Spinny was this time around? Like, obviously, last time, as you said, you know, things didn't quite work out with, you know, the scaling of the robot and whatever else. But were you surprised how well this version did in particular?
Yeah, but the thing is, I hadn't. I mean, I'd spun it up, but obviously, I'd never fought it before Bugglebots, as with many competitors.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I mean, yeah. So I didn't know what to expect from it. I especially didn't know what to expect against, you know, Titanium. You know, it's like it's a really solid bot, and like, you don't know, is the weapon assembly going to fall apart? Are my drive motors going to unscrew themselves? What's going to happen? So, yeah, I honestly didn't know.
It was a good fight in my mind. I think, you know, the way that you approached, you know, just trying to. I think the plan was go for the wheels, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Mark II isn't super easy to control either. But,
right.
I think it's better. It's more easy to control than Mark I. So it's just kind of drive at him, try and, you know, if he tries to flip me while I'm on top of him, try and catch the edge of that flipper blade. You know, try and tear something off if I can. If I hit a wheel, fair enough. I don't think that really ended up happening. I mean, maybe, but I didn't really see any significant damage to the exterior, like of the wheels or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
Steve?
I can, watching the fight back now, there's a little external damage, but I can assume that most of the damage done in this fight was internal, because the Titanium was just standing up to every hit you gave. It's nice to see big hits for the Beetles every once in a while. That's what I've liked so much about this series, is we're actually seeing an evolution of really mean spinners, you know, and a lot of really cool robots that can really defend from the hits, as we'll see from later in this episode. And it was a good fight. I mean, you guys have basically said everything already. But I do like the fact that your robot, Rory, has a completely sacrificial rear, and there's nothing back there. So it's just something to, like, if somebody gets behind you, okay, you hit it, cool. There's nothing back there that's important. So I think that was a pretty nice design choice on your part. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, obviously, we'll get more to the effectiveness of that later on in the in the episode.
Yeah.
We'll move on though to Fight 2, which, for my 2 cents, was probably one of the best of the series so far.
So good.
Between the returning Drizzle and Wee Woo. Now, Drizzle, obviously, last series, I think its combined fight time was about 10 seconds over the course of 4 fights. Obviously. The fact that Drizzle could actually self-right now is a massive, massive step forward. And I know Tom and Sarah obviously worked very hard on the new version to try and just get a little bit extra out of it, which they obviously managed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to fight Wee Woo, who, let's face it, one of probably the most entertaining robot last year's series, just darting around everywhere. This was just so bonkers. I love it. It's just everything about it was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than, it was just those hits just flinging Wee Woo around the arena was fantastic.
Yeah, because you're basically throwing a beetle weight in with something similar to the size of a U.S. ant weight, basically, like 1.5 pounds, something like that, and you're gonna get some pretty crazy hits. when you have one bot against a multi-bot, and especially with the power that Drizzle's got this year, and the fact that it can self-right, this fight really impressed me. And I know we're good friends with Tom, and it was good to see that he was able to actually show more of what this robot could do. Because last time it just showed up, and it was there. it did a drizzle, as we learned to say a word.
Absolutely. Apparently that is a word. Obviously, Rory, you were there. What did you make of the fight? I'm guessing there was quite a lot of reaction coming from the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't see all of it. Because a lot of us Roboteers were like watching it from the pits, and there was a projector, which is kind of difficult to see what was going on. But whenever there was like a big hit, we would hear this almighty roar from from the crowd in the room. Even though we don't even share a wall with the room where the fights are taking place. You could hear it. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the energy going on as well was bananas. I mean, the fact that Wee Woo lasted as long as it did, I think, deserves a lot of testament. I think as well the fact that Drizzle's weapon throughout didn't die.
Oh, 100%.
Is also ridiculous. The fact that it just kept going.
Yep.
Go
on. No, okay. Yeah, I was just gonna bounce off of that and say they're very, very durable. It's unfortunate that durability wasn't like the fact that they weren't durable wasn't the reason that they died. It was because one of them got stuck to the wall.
Yeah,
because of a magnet, which is necessary because they're so light, and I get that. But man, what a flaw!
What a silly way to die! What a silly way to die! But it was a great fight.
Yes.
Definitely one of the most entertaining fights this series, and just the fact that. The fact that it just went on for as long as it did as well was just massive hit after massive hit was brilliant, and both teams absolutely hats off to the pair of them.
Yeah, it's something you wouldn't see. It's something you wouldn't see. Sorry, I keep jumping in. I'm sorry. But it pops in my head where like when you see something like that happen, like for American audiences, it's not necessarily very common because a lot of the fights that I see around here, a lot of the arenas are made out of non-ferrous material, so you really can't gain the advantage that a magnet can bring, where you can actually hold you closer to the ground. A lot of the events that I've been around have floors that are made out of materials that aren't magnetic, just to kind of combat that. So that was kind of it was just an interesting way for that to fail. Go on.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Is it mostly like wooden floors in the American arenas then, or is it?
Well, it's more the fact that it's that's a very good question, because I know they're metal floors, but it's the fact that maybe they're titanium, or maybe they're not steel based.
Maybe they're non-magnetic stainless. I don't know.
Possibly, yes. I mean, but it's got to be able to withstand the hits, especially for some of the arenas where over here there's events that actually have arenas that are Bugglebots size that you got 15-pound robots in. So they have to be able to withstand hits from those, and even that, I mean, it's just not a common thing to happen over here.
Yeah. I mean, this was foreshadowed in in the previous season. One of the I can't remember if it was Facebook it was posted or what, but I think Wee Woo and Drizzle had a fight on a whiteboard, a literal whiteboard fight at one point. So I feel like,
that's brilliant.
They should have seen that coming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was absolutely meant to be, and the fact that again, two very entertaining teams as well. So a great show put on by all three robots in this case, I suppose.
Yeah.
We'll come on to our final first round match then. Between the returning Bourbon 2 and Jay. Now, this fight didn't really have much going for it. Bourbon, credit to them, Robert absolutely just went straight in there, got the kill, did what he needed to do. We just didn't really get to see much of Jay, which is a shame, really. But, ultimately, Bourbon just went straight in and did what they needed to do.
Yeah. I think this was, like, you expected more out of the first fight from Bourbon, of course, because it looks so scary, and that's like, that's what we're looking for. And I know they were trying to do the wedge game with Jay, and it failed miserably with the wedge going through the floor. But
oh, brilliant! The fact that they went like it's so low, it went through the floor.
Yeah, it was such a thin piece of metal.
Oh,
I guess a little bit of an oversight, but hey, that happens. I mean, what are you gonna do? Took the witch doctor approach, where just stick your weapon out as far as possible and don't worry about a feeder wedge. But yeah, it was having driving issues, and we'd later figure out that he was having some. I don't know if it was one of the gearboxes or something like that. I actually forget what happened, but. I don't know. Jay had some pretty good control in this fight, considering that it was not necessarily bumbling around, but it's. I can't really comment on the driving because this is Myra's first event, so I don't. There's total credit for actually just being in there at all and just taking the fight to a really tough robot, and it was a shame to see it lose a wheel late. Because it was actually doing pretty good in the control category, and I don't know. This was a tough one to call.
Yeah, Rory, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's see, I hadn't seen this fight at all when I was actually at the event, and I didn't know that Bourbon's wedge just fell through the floor like a letterbox at some point, so that made me laugh out loud when I watched it back. And I have to say, yeah, like you say, Jay, like when you've got one wheel and your wedge bot even moving vaguely in the direction of your opponent is quite skilled driving, so hats off to Myra for that. And Bourbon, as always, I mean, it's a fantastic looking bot. And it proved it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think deservedly going through on this occasion. Which brings us to the losers melee.
Well,
we mentioned,
what do you want to say first?
So first of all, I want to say once again, Wee bringing the thunder in this heat.
Oh, big time.
That spinner on Wii. Unbelievable. That thing was just sending Catalyst to the... it's half the weight!
Yeah.
And it was still roofing Catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing...
Impressive.
The only thing I can assume is, the engagement on that spinner is just so perfect. It's just the perfect amount of bite to send it flying to the air.
Mm-hmm.
Because, weight-wise, it shouldn't work.
You would think.
It's crazy as well when you consider that Spinny Wee, as I think Cosman
Spinny Wee!
Well, don't go down your back alleys and look for someone's Spinny Wee. Goodness. And we're off the air.
Yeah, we're off the air. Once again, cancelled.
That weapon it's a hub motor. So basically what you've got is your brushless motor in the middle, a magnet ring around the brushless motor, and then, part of the brushless motor, and then around that is just a ring. So it's not even like a full disc. It's a ring around the motor that's doing all that damage. It's crazy. It's
just an absurd amount of energy going on. For something so small as well, the fact that it's half the weight. Imagine having two of that in the arena. It's just dumb.
Oh man.
No, I don't want that anymore. It is a shame that Wii just couldn't. I think did it damage itself at one point. I think because I feel like the red one went in the pit, didn't it? That was it.
Yeah, we went we all the way home.
It really did. It really did, and it's a shame because it was dishing out the thunder. As I said, it was just giving them such good hits. Catalyst, meanwhile,
it was very Stinger Series 3, just all over the place, hitting things and bashing, and then all of a sudden down the pit.
Yeah, it was having fun and then died. That was it.
Yes.
Catalyst, meanwhile, didn't really stand a chance against the spinner.
No.
I think the flipper jammed at one point. I can't remember. I want to say it jammed, and then they just I think the wedge was damaged anyway, but the panel on the flipper was damaged, so it couldn't retract. So that kind of lost them any chance of eliminating Wu.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that they both went in the pit and Jay somehow won. I just don't even know. I remember watching it. I just thought, how has this happened? How have we come to this?
Jay in this fight did about maybe, and this is no discredit, probably about 8% of what happened in this fight. But was just there, and unfortunately for everyone else, they go down the pit, she moves on because she survived, which is great because I guess this is one of those things where it's an unassuming robot. It's like Claws 2, and this is what I would expect for Claws 2 to do in its fight coming up. It's unassuming. So you figure, oh, I don't have to worry about that robot, you know, I'll get it later. And then all of a sudden, there it is. It's still there because you put so much concentration into the more dangerous robot. You think, oh, it's a wedge, don't worry about it. And unfortunately, a little oversight, and, well,
I can't remember
those two are going home.
I can't remember who it was who spoke to me about it, but like someone always told me that like the aim of a rumble isn't to win. The aim of a rumble is to let the others lose.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's how Jay won. Like Jay just kind of kept out of the way, minding his own business, and then let the other two just kill each other first, and then just sweep up what was left. And yeah,
I think place at the right time.
I think there's one thing we've learned from this battle, and that it's that maybe Myra is the new Michael Oates.
Myra Oates, there we go.
There we go.
Hanging around in the corner, waiting for everyone else to die, and then swooping in at the last second.
Absolutely, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's been a lot of talk, you know, how, you know, other teams were robbed. Yes, maybe they were, but like at the end of the day, these are the rules. Like they're there for a reason.
And it was their own doing.
Yeah.
No.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, a lot of, you know, I have seen online, you know, a couple of, you know, American guys saying, oh, you know, if there was no pit, it wouldn't have mattered, blah blah blah.
Oh, I'm not part of that.
You play to the arena, you know, like.
There's dropout zones over here. It's not like pits are only UK.
Yeah.
It's not an uncommon thing to have a dropout zone.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. At the end of the day, you know, yes, maybe it is disappointing for, like, you know, maybe the spectacle, you know, because let's not lie, having Wee Woo back in the competition of Catalyst would have been incredible, but that's not how it works. And they, you know, Jay, credit to her, she kept it out of trouble, so fair enough. I suppose we'll move on from the Rumble to Rory. You again.
Yes.
Me again.
You again, and Bourbon. What was the plan? Because obviously Bourbon is very scary, as you know, as you mentioned already. Has got that, you know, nasty hex drum at the front. What was the hope?
Well, you know, good question. I mean, looking at it, when I was looking at it before the fight, I was like, you know, what is there that I can hit that's going to do any significant damage? Because you look at it, and it's got, you know, it's not many beetles are just 100% metal. I mean, obviously Jay is another one, but you know, like Bourbon's got like angled titanium sides, I think, and you know, it's got that big nasty drum up front. It's just, and I was like, well, maybe I can, like, if I will hard enough, I can like collapse in one of the pieces of side armor. If I just hit it really, really hard, maybe something will happen. So yeah, to be honest, I had no idea. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just going to go in, hit it, and see what happened. I mean,
in the end, Bourbon pretty much just killed it. I would say it killed itself, but like it just fell apart, which is, it's kind of sad because obviously Bourbon, you know, is a really nice looking thing, and you know, it's such a beautifully made robot. You know, the fact that, you know, you hit it hard enough for it to kind of fall to pieces, I think, because I've heard stories of that it was a lot more damage than how it appeared.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's crazy because I was just trying to survive because, you know, he hit me quite early on.
Hit your rear, didn't he? He took the wedge off, didn't he?
And half the wedge was hanging off, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm in the doo-doo now. And, you know, like, but then, then it flipped itself over. I'm watching the footage back now. Like, I hit it, and then it flips itself over, and the drum falls out the front. And I had no idea what to think. I'm like, oh, it's actually opened up. And yeah, I said to Rob, you know, do you want me to hit it again to try and turn it over? Because I didn't put it on his back like that. He's like, yeah, sure, and I tried, but yeah, it's I think it's a lot. It's a lot easier to do that with a vertical than a horizontal.
Yes.
Yeah,
You guys remember those toys that I don't know if it was just an American thing, but they're like little rubber plastic like hemispheres, and you could like push one side in and sit it on the table, and it would pop up. That's exactly what Bourbon did. Identical. It's just like boop, and then that was it. So it was such a quick fight, and it really did a number. You really do have a robot that is it is its own widening service. Which was a really good. That was a really good bit. I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
But it just. Let me say, it's really interesting. The fact that there's not a whole lot of metal robots at this weight class, because once again, weight is a big problem. Like, it's not like you could build it all out of metal like you would a heavyweight. Like, I could build it all out of aluminum and then just figure out the weight afterwards. But you really gotta think about your design, because you have so much less weight to work with, and we spoke of that obviously at the top of the episode. But it was a really bottom line really good fight. Quick and dirty, and just
dirty.
Yeah, whatever. Maybe that's an Americanism for you. Oh, sorry.
My favorite. Obviously, just mean that Rory moves on to the Heat final. Bourbon into that disgusting 10-way at this point. Like, there's no need for how filthy.
It's going to be ridiculous, and there's a little preview at the end of the episode that just I can't imagine what that's going to be like when we see it.
I don't know how we're going to review that next week. I have no idea. It's just going to be absolute carnage.
Yeah.
Not helped by matters the fact that one of the loser of the next fight goes in. So Drizzle and Jay.
Yeah.
Drizzle and Jay. How is this?
Yeah.
It's. I'd say it's more heartbreaking for Tom than it is, say, the fact you take nothing away from Jay. It survived the fight.
Oh yeah.
But it's heartbreaking the fact that Drizzle was doing so well. It wasn't breaking down. It still kept hitting it hard, and it just couldn't self-right. And it's such a shame because it was doing it all episode. But the one time it mattered.
Yeah, it's the Bugglebots version of Duck. That's Jay. It just keeps taking the hits. This was very Cobalt Duck of BattleBots 2019. Just deal out all the hits and wait for the spinner to die. So, except it didn't get stuck on the floor. Damn it, floor. But yeah, oh man, the hits that Drizzle dealt out in this fight, and somehow, some way, well, I mean, the Hard Knocks wedge helps, and all the steel helps. But all those hits, I mean, there's a very few robots over there that could take that kind of punishment from a spinner like that. And massive credit to the build quality of that robot. I mean, obviously it can really stand the test of the punishment.
I think Rory, you must have been a mighty relieved man to see Drizzle stay upside down and not moving anymore.
Oh, 100%. What I will say is that if I'm remembering it correctly, for the previous fight with Bourbon, I originally thought I was going to be fighting Drizzle.
Oh, really?
But because of the way I think the heats worked out, they didn't want to have people fighting opponents they'd already fought, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so Bourbon couldn't have fought Jay because they fought in round 1.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, so I ended up having to fight Bourbon instead, and yeah, I mean, I was gearing up for this battle with Drizzle, and I have fought Drizzle since with a slightly different version of Mini Spinny, and that didn't turn out well for me. So I'm glad. I'm very glad that this wasn't me.
It was a great fight. I'm sure. Again, credit to Jay for the fact that he just kept going and plugging away. But it's such a shame, and once again that 10-way. Oh boy, that 10-way. Oh my god. So just to reel off who's in this 10-way for Bugglebot Series 2 or Season 2. We have Halo and Samantha Frog from Heat 1. We have Gear Down for What and Wayo from Heat 2. We have The Apprentice and Unconscious 514 from Heat 3. We have Deadless and Annie Are You Okay from Heat 4.
Oh my god.
And Bourbon 2 and Drizzle. It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
It's not that the Dung Beetle's any worse. I mean, really.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is that you really do need a spinner killer in that fight. So it's when you watch this Monsoon J fight back, Jay was just about to crack when Monsoon is flipped over. It loses a wheel just when Mini Monsoon, Drizzle. I'm reading his shirt. That's what's messing me up. But it was just about to crack, and it was so close to going into that 10-way, and who knows, it might have actually stood up to the test. I would have liked to have seen it go up against more spinners because of how impressive it was in this episode. But, geez, that 10-way. I mean, there's a sign in the crowd where it says "Drizzle makes me moist." I would say that the 10-way is going to make me moist.
For God's sake.
I had to make up for Anderson not being here.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, once again, it's just a wonderful exhibition of silliness from Drizzle, and but it does mean that Jay goes through to fight Mini Spinny in the Heat final. Rory, were you nervous, or did you think, okay, I would much rather have Jay than Drizzle?
Yeah. I would much rather have Jay than Drizzle, but that's not like a slight on Jay. That's just because Jay just doesn't have a weapon.
It's not going to wreck you.
You'll come out with your robot in mostly one piece, but you still could lose.
Yes, precisely. And that, I had a bad feeling because there were 2 days over which Bugglebots was filmed. Yep. That second day, the first day ended before my fight with Jay. So, I went back to the hotel and I was like, I'm surprised I managed to sleep, because I was like, oh gosh, I have this sinking feeling I'm gonna, just be KO'd by Jay because it's impossible to break. Mm-hmm. If you look at the chassis, especially with the lid off, it's literally just a welded box. What am I supposed to do? So, Myra is a newcomer, I think, self-admitted, and it's a basic robot, and like I said, with no weapon. But I wasn't gonna get complacent because it's so tough.
Yeah, you can't take you can't not take anyone seriously, even if it's it's a new driver and and a robot that's on the outside relatively harmless. You still got to take everything. This is next fight could be my last.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you went through, I think, was probably for the once again for the show, I think probably the best outcome, because as much as Jay did really well throughout the heat and survived very well, having a weaponless box in the grand final with it would have been a little bit less entertaining. I think it's fair to say.
There is already kind of one there already.
There is, but the differences between Thunderchild and Jay, for me at least, Thunderchild comes with all that pedigree, whereas Jay not necessarily. Maybe harsh. I don't know. Comments, be sure to flame me below. I don't know.
Tell everyone that Sam is a mean boy.
Yeah, I'm a nasty person. But it does mean, Rory, you were a grand finalist in Bugglebots Series 2.
I couldn't quite believe it at the time. I was like, really? Because I think that's the furthest I've got, I think, in any major event. Did you go into the competition kind of not expecting to win, but did you kind of expect, okay, I've got a fairly decent machine here, I might do some damage? Well, I designed it because Mark 1 was designed with being as close to PP3D in mind, with trying, and also try to be half decent. Mark 2 was kind of, okay, looks basically out the window, let's go for effectiveness. So, yes, I thought I would at least do plenty of damage. I didn't know that I didn't think I'd win a heat. But I thought that I would at least, make some people worry a bit with the spinner.
Definitely.
But a grand final place is a pretty good reward.
I was really super happy with that. I have to say hats off to Myra and Jay, because for a newcomer to get to the heat final, and not only a newcomer, but a newcomer from a different country.
Yeah.
Like you've got to come over the sea. You've got to overcome the language barrier, and she speaks amazing English.
Yes.
And like, it's just incredible. Yeah. So hats off to Myra for that. It was she was great.
And she's in the Rumblebee, so you never know.
Yeah, exactly. So the 5 that are there at the moment are Rust in Pieces, Lame Thart, Jay, Claws 2, and Phoenix. If I'm honest, looking at that, you kind of think, well, it doesn't look too bad at the moment. Phoenix is a bit scary, but like, most of the guys in there, you kind of think, well, I'm not gonna, if we go up against them, we're not gonna get wrecked. That's nice.
Right. That's the thing. This is like the opposite of what the
10-way is. The 10-way is disgusting. This is a cakewalk by comparison.
Right. So all depending on who comes out of that 10-way, I mean, it could be that could shake the entire Rumblebee up.
Exactly. The way you look at it at the moment, like everyone in that Rumblebee will probably be scared of who comes out of that 10-way because.
And that's insane.
the odds are it's just going to be something. It's something very nasty. Like there's a lot in there that could end up going in. Mm-hmm. I, for one, can't wait to talk about them next week. But that does bring us to the end of the episode. Rory, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure being here.
Excellent. Excellent. And myself and Steve, we'll see you next week for, I think it's the Rumbles. I'm not entirely sure. You'll see us next week for Bugglebots.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Not quite sure how it's going to shake out.
Yeah. However it may turn out, we'll be there. Anyway, I've been Sam Elliott 64.
I've been Steve the American Killjoy.
I've been Rory, builder of Mini Spinny MK II.
And the two of us, at least, will see you next week for Bugglebots. See you then.